Hello, this is Ian with my discussion board on ethical violations and board discipline for this week. After reviewing many months of disciplinary actions located on the Pennsylvania Department of State website, the most common reason for discipline of a counselor was inappropriate relationships between counselor and client. The relationships range from dual relationships to sexual relationships, and the most common of those were inappropriate sexual relationships. So some of the themes that I saw in common were the unprofessional conduct and the failure to maintain appropriate standards of care. I saw that a lot when I was researching. Those terms were used a lot in the disciplinary actions and posts. The recent case that I chose to discuss is a female counselor who failed to maintain the appropriate standards of care and standards of acceptable and prevailing practice by engaging in personal, social, and romantic relationship with and engaged in sexual intimacies with a current client. So that was a lot, but something I noticed that to my surprise, maybe, there were a lot of female counselors also on these lists in inappropriate relationships. And that did surprise me a little bit, to be honest. The section that was violated was the PA Code of Ethics 4921, which is prohibited conduct, which says sexual intimacies between a licensed professional counselor and a current patient or an immediate family member of a current patient is prohibited. So the outcome was that she would voluntarily and permanently surrender her license to practice as a counselor in a Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now, I saw a lot of other, so that was for that case, but I did see a lot of other, where there are some fines involved and some probation in some of those. But for this one, it just says permanently surrendered. So it was a little bit more interesting to me. The PA Code of Ethics and the ACA Code say virtually the same thing about impairment. The PA Code 49.75, impaired practice, says a licensee may not undertake or continue a professional relationship with a client, patient, supervisor, or student when objectively or competency of the licensee is or could reasonably be expected to be impaired. So when you look at the ACA Code of Ethics, it says virtually the same thing. It says a counselor must refrain from offering or providing professional services when impaired. So when you juxtapose those two together, the PA State Code of Ethics and the ACA Code of Ethics, they're very similar. And I see that throughout a lot of the codes. They're very similar with each other. So the question that comes to mind to me, and when we're talking about impairment, is what specific resources are available to counselors who find themselves in impairment? I know we studied the importance of self-monitoring, self-care, and wellness, and supervision, and that certainly helps identify the impairment. But are there any specific resources that are tailor-made specifically for the impaired professional counselor? So that question really did come up when I was looking at and studying, of course, the effects of impairment and how that really can be detrimental to the counselor, the counselor's family, and of course the counseling profession. So all in all, it was a very interesting study, and I took a lot of time to go through a lot of cases. I was pretty surprised with some of the ones I saw. A lot of them, like I said, were about the sexual relationships, and dual relationships were in there too. But there were a lot of other things in there that kind of surprised me. So all in all, it was a really good week to study some of these violations. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to some replies.